hello. Let's see. Oh, you're you're here. Jacob finally got the first one for the first time. I just realized I forgot to put my little white screens up that I use as a little um I put little white screens on my monitors so it looks like a little lights. I forgot to do that, and I already had all my stuff set up. I thought, well, time. My tea was taking forever to. I may be almost dropped it. Let me fix that real quick. There, and there. And the white screens are up. Everything's up. Okay. Well, I hope everyone is having an amazing day. I don't know why my stream info thing looks like that, but that's fine. I hope everyone has an amazing Valentine's Day also. We're just gonna hop right in. I got my pajama pants stuck under my chair. Yeah, that's better. So we're gonna hop right into it. We had the tea in the water. Obviously. Can I hear it? Yes, it is. Okay. I'm surprised that Winter didn't use the hydration thing. Okay. We are on chapter 12. We might do... How many chapters is left?
Will you give him a drink of water, for Christ's sake?
Okay. I shouldn't have even mentioned it. There is 6 chapters left. No? Yeah, there's 6 chapters. Only 6 chapters left. And I said I shall do it. Okay. So we're gonna probably read 3 chapters today, maybe 4. I don't think we'll have enough time to read all 6 chapters, so maybe we'll finish the book tomorrow. That's crazy, we're already finishing the book tomorrow. Okay, so let's get right into it. Chapter 12. It was the 9th of November, and the eve of his own 30th birthday. As he often remembered afterwards, he was walking home about 11 o'clock from Lord Henry's, where he had been dining. He was wrapped in heavy furs, as the night was cold and foggy, at the corner of Grosvenor, I don't know why it's a weird name, Square, and South Audrey Street. A man passed him in the mist, walking very fast, with the collar of his grey ulster turned up. He had a bag in his hand. Dorian recognized him. It was Basil Hallward. A strange sense of fear, of which he could not account, came over him. Hi! I stopped being bad to poof. Have a great day. Oh, wait, okay. For some reason, Discord's not popping up for me. Okay, now it is. Okay, I need to make sure it's turned on. Do not disturb. Because even though I have my notifications turned off, it's still... Yes, because my screen was blowing up earlier. And I could not even turn it off. I couldn't want to even open for so... Yeah, 60 chats, okay. Yes, okay. We'll be lurking now. I appreciate you. I appreciate lurkers. And hi, Nick. I see you are here too. A strange sense of fear for which he could not account came over him. He made no sense of recognition, and went on quickly to the direction of his own house, but Hallward had seen him. Dorian heard him first stopping on the pavement, then hurrying after him. In a few moments his hand was in his arm. Dorian, what an extraordinary piece of luck. I've been waiting for you in the library ever since 9 o'clock. Finally I took pity on your tired servant, and told him to go to bed, as he let me out. I am off to Paris by midnight train, and I particularly wanted to see you before I left. I thought it was you, or rather your fur coat, as you passed me, but I wasn't quite sure. Didn't you recognize me? In the fog, my dear Basil, why? I can't even recognize Grosvenor Square. I believe my house is somewhere about here, but I don't feel all this certain about it. I am sorry that you are going away, as I have not seen you for ages, but I suppose you will be back soon? No, I'm going I'm going to be out of London for 6 months. I intend to take a studio in Paris, and I shut myself up until I have finished my great picture I have in my head. However, it wasn't about myself I wanted to talk. Here, we're at your door. Let me come in for a moment. I have something to say to you. Shall be charmed, but won't you miss your train? Said Dorian Gray languidly as he passed up the steps and opened the door with his latchkey. The lamplight struggled out through the fog, and Howard looked at his watch. I have heaps of time, he answered. The train doesn't go till 12:15. It's only just 11. In fact, I was on my way to the club to look for you, but I met you. You see, I shan't have any delay about luggage, as I have sent on all heavy things. All I have with me is this bag, and I can easily get to Victoria in 20 minutes. Dorian looked at him and smiled. What a way a fashionable painter to travel. A Gladstone bag in Ulster? It's Ulster? Ulster? Come on, and the fog will get into the house. And mind you, don't talk about anything serious. Nothing is serious nowadays. At least, nothing should be. Howard shook his head as he entered, and followed Dorian into the library. There was a bright wood fire blazing in the large open hearth. The lamps were lit, and an open Dutch silver spirit case stood, with some siphons of soda water and a large cut glass tumblers on a little marquetry table. You see, your servant made me quite at home, Dorian. He gave me everything I wanted, including your best gold-tipped cigarettes. He is a top hospitable creature. I like him very much. Then the Frenchman you used to have. What became of the Frenchman, by the way? By the by? Dorian shrugged his shoulders. I believe he married Lady Radcliffe's maid, and he's established her in Paris as an English dressmaker. Algomania is very fashionable over there now. I hear it. It seems silly of the French, doesn't it? But do you know, he was not at all a bad servant. I never liked him, but I had nothing to complain about. One often imagines things that are quite absurd. He was really very devoted to me, and seemed very sorry for when he went away. Have another brandy and soda? Or would you like a hock and seltzer? I always have hock and seltzer myself. There sure be some in the next room. Thanks, I won't have any more. I won't have anything more, said the painter, taking his cap and coat off and throwing them on the bag. And he placed on the door. And now, my dear fellow, I want to speak to you seriously. Don't frown me like that. You make it so much more difficult for me. What is this all about? Cried Dorian in his petulant way, flinging himself down the sofa. I hope it is not about myself. I am tired of myself tonight. I shall like to be someone else. It is about yourself, answered Hallward in his grave, deep voice. And I must say it to you. I should only keep you half an hour. Sorry, I have to step away for a minute. It was my mom's birthday party thing. Her birthday was yesterday. And I believe, can you see the flowers in the background? I got flowers. I think they're covered. I can show you though. I can show. Yes. I'll put it over here actually. I also got I already ate a lot of them. I got Starburst, and some dark chocolates, and, Sunset Sarsaparilla from, the Jones Soda. And I got a Monster too, and I also got, one of these, and some more flowers also. Oh. What do you do for Valentine's Day? I like the little bee on it. The little bee. All sorts of things. Nick, how's your Valentine's Day? Because Winter did all sorts of things. It is about yourself, answered Hallward in his grave, deep voice, and I must say it to you, I shall only keep you half an hour. Dorian sighed and lit a cigarette. Half an hour? He murmured. It is not much to ask you, Dorian. It's entirely of your own sake, and I am speaking. I think it right that you should know that most dreadful things are being said about you in London. I don't wish to know anything about them. I love scandals about under people, but scandals about myself don't interest me. They have not got the charm of novelty. Went to Red Lobster and got crab legs. Ooh. I stopped for Shamrock Shake. Oh, I wish I could.
Driving in my car right after a beer. Hey,
I wish I could have Shamrock Shakes. I used to love them. I went to the store and picked up a huge thing of chocolates. They must interest you, Dorian. Every gentleman is interested in his own good name. You don't want people to talk of you as something vile and degrading. Of course, you have your position and your wealth and all that kind of things, but position and wealth are not everything, mind you. I don't believe these rumors at all, at least I don't believe them when I see you. Sin is the thing that writes itself across a man's face. It cannot be concealed. I need to figure out a way I can make Shamrock Shakes that does not make me puke. Because every time I have one, I don't know if it's in my stomach, I just sadly cannot have them. I used to love them though. Every time I hear McDonald's actually gets me when I used to be able to have them. People talk sometimes of secret vices. There is no such thing. If a wretched man has a vice, it shows itself in the lines of his mouth, the droop of his eyelids, the molding of his hands even. Somebody, I won't mention his name, but you know him, came to me last year and had his portrait done. I have never seen him before, and had never heard anything about him at the time. Though I have heard a good deal since. He offered an extravagant price. I refused him. There was something in the shape of his fingers that I hated. I know now that I was quite rid of what I fancied about him. His life is dreadful, but you, Dorian, with your pure, bright, innocent face, and your marvelous, untroubled youth, can believe anything against you. And yet I see you very seldom, and you never come down to the studio now, and when I am away from you, all I can hear are these hideous things that people are whispering about you. I don't know what to say. Why is it, Dorian, that the Duke of Berwick leaves the room of a club when you
Will
enter
you give him a drink of water for Christ's sake?
Wait. I feel bad. I don't know if it's too much dairy. I'm fine with ice cream. It's just McDonald's shakes in general that make me puke. I don't know. Everything else that I have with dairy, I'm completely fine with. It's so weird. It's like, yeah. It's just McDonald's shakes in general. Like, Shamrock Shakes, the chocolate shakes, all of them are just, yeah, I know, it's only McDonald's, too, it's so weird. Just one day, it was like, one day I was fine, one day I was like, nah, I was like, okay. Like, when I drink thicker shakes, it also, like, it makes my stomach hurt, but it doesn't do the same thing that the McDonald's shakes do. It's really weird. Even vanilla, I never had vanilla. I don't like vanilla shakes, so that's why. Because it's just chocolate and Shamrock Shake ones. I haven't had the vanilla one, though. Why is it that so many gentlemen in London will neither go to your house or invite you to theirs? You used to be a friend of Lord Stavely. I met him at dinner last week. Your name happened to come up in conversation. In connection with the miniatures you have lent to the exhibition of the Dudley. Salvatore curled his lips and said you might have the most artistic taste, but you are a man whom no pure-minded girl should be allowed to know, whom no chaste woman should sit in the same room with. I reminded him that I was a friend of yours, and asked him what he meant.
Hello, how are you? I am under the water. Please help me. Here too much raining.
I did drink water. So I say try vanilla. It still does the same as the shake itself, but not most likely the country. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I'll drink another sip for you, Curly, since you weren't here when they made me drink water. Yeah, Winter and Wendy have their own. I don't know if Wendy hasn't been popping in my streams recently, so I might take off the Wendy special channel point button if he doesn't use it as much. Wendy and Winters have their own. Maybe I might just keep Winters. I'm not sure yet. Perhaps I'm not. I can't promise. I can't promise a special channel point button. I can't promise. Maybe. Winter, show. Can you could replace mine with the driving in your car one. Wait. Well, Winter has a 20-day stream streak, I believe. So, I don't know. I feel like if you reach a certain amount in the stream streak, possibly. Hi, Lunar. How are you doing? Yeah. Let me just get back in the book. This is turning into a just chatting stream. We need to get back into the book. I'm at 16. Well, I'm not. I'll think about it. I reminded him that I was a friend of yours and asked him what he meant. He told me right out before everybody. It was horrible. Why is your friendship so fatal to young men? There was such a wretched boy in the guard who committed suicide. You were his great friend. There was Sir Henry Ashton, who had to leave England with a tarnished name, and you and he were inseparable. What about Adrian Singleton and his dreadful end? What about Lord Kent's only son in his career? I met his father yesterday in St. James Street. He seemed broken with shame and sorrow. What was the young Duke of Perth? What sort of life has he got now? What gentleman to associate with him? Yes, I do want the clip. Okay, well, Winter, you're good. I'm good. I'm always able to come and say hi whenever I get. Oh, the whole heart. Oh, I love that. Well, I hope you had an amazing Valentine's Day, Luna. I'm gonna Nick the clip, but I need that clip. I. And then there's, I don't know if you got one. I don't know. Maybe I can probably clip it when Vex killed me. I'm not really sure yet, though. We're all in like a Fight Club situation going on. Stop, Basil. You're talking about things of which you know nothing, said Dorian Gray, biting his lip, with the notes of infinite contempt in his voice. You ask me why Berwick leaves the room when I enter it. It is because I know everything about his life, not because he knows anything about mine. With such blood he has in his veins, how could his record be clean? You ask me about Henry Ashton and young Perth. Did I teach him one of his vices, and the other of his debauchery? If Ken's single silly son takens away from the streets, what is it that to me? If Adrian Singleton writes a friend's name across a bill, am I his keeper? I know how people chatter in England, the middle class err with moral prejudice over their gross dinner tables, and whisper at how they call the profalities of their betters, in order to try and pretend that they are in smart society and on intimate terms with the people they slander. In this country, it is far enough for a man to have distinction. What sort of lives do these people who pose of being moral lead themselves? My dear fellow, you forget that we are in the native land of the hypocrites. Dorian, cried Hallward, that is not the question. England is bad enough, I know, but England's society is all wrong. That is all the reason why I want you to be fine. If you have not been fine, one has right to judge of a man who has the effect over his friends. You have filled them with a madness for pleasure. You have gone down into the depths. You led them there, yes. You led them there, and yet you can smile, and you're smiling now, and there's worse behind. I know you and Harry are inseparable, surely for the reason. For none other, you should not have made his sister's name a byword. Take care, Basil. You will go far too. What's a byword? I don't know what that is. I must speak, and you must listen. You shall listen when you are met Lady Gwendolen. Not a breath of scandal has ever touched her. Is there a single decent woman in London now you would drive with her in the park? Why, even her children are not allowed to. Well, I think the poem sounds good. I'm not like a big poem person though. My check is just turned. Wait, what? Curly, what are you talking about? Well, yeah, I like the poem. I just don't really know anything about. I'm not a big poetry person. Um, Even her children are allowed to live with her. Then there are other stories that he had been creeping at dawn out of the dreadful house and sneaking in disguise to the foul scent in London. Uh-oh. Well, that's not good. And creeping out at dawn at the most out of dreadful houses and sneaking in disguise to the foulest scent in London. Are they true? Can they be true? When I first heard them, I laughed. I hear them now, and they are making me shudder. What about your country house and the life that is led there? This means I have a pet. I absolutely do not know what the check engine light means. I do not drive. I have no idea. Dorian, you don't know what is said about you. I'll tell you that I don't want to preach to you. I remember Harry saying that once every man who turned himself into an amateur curate, for the moment that always began by saying that, and then proceeded to break his word. I don't want to preach to you. I want you to lead such a life that will make the world respect you. I want you to have a clean name and a fair record. I want you to be rid of the dreadful people you associate with. Don't shrug your shoulders like that. Don't be so indifferent. You have a wonderful influence. Let it be for good, not for evil. They say you corrupt everyone with whom you become intimate, and that they are quite sufficient for you to enter your house. For shame of some kind to follow that. How did I lose my place? I don't know whether it is so or not. How should I know? But it is said of you. I am told things that I seem impossible to doubt. When Gautier was one of my greatest friends at Oxford, he showed me a letter that his wife had written to him when she was dying alone in her villa at Menton. Your name was implicated in the most terrible confession I have ever read. I told him that it was absurd. I knew you thoroughly, and that you were incapable of anything of the kind. Know you? I wonder if I know you, because I could answer that. I should have to see your soul. To see my soul? Muttered Dorian Gray, starting up from the sofa and turned almost white from fear. Yes, answered Hallward gravely, the deep-toned sorrow in his voice. To see your soul, but only God can see that. A bitter laugh of mockery broke from the lips of the young man. I shall see it. You shall see it yourself tonight, he cried, seizing a lamp from the table. Come, it is your own handiwork. Why shouldn't you look at it? You can tell the world about it afterwards, if you choose. Nobody would believe you. If they did believe you, they would like me all the better for it. I know that age better than you do, though you will prate about it so tediously. Come, I tell you, you have chattered enough about corruption. Now you shall look at it on the face to face. There is a madness of pride in every word he uttered. He stamped his foot upon the ground with his boyish, insolent manner. He felt a terrible joy at the thought that some one else was to share his secrets, and the man who had painted the portrait was the origin of all the shame, was to burden for the rest of his life with the hideous memory of what he had done. Yes, he continued, coming closer to him and looking steadfastly into the stern eyes, I shall show you my soul. You shall see the things that you fancy only God can see. Hallward started back. This is blasphemy, Dorian, he cried. You must not say things like that. They are horrible. You don't mean anything. You think so? He laughed again. I know so. As for what I said to you tonight, I said it for your own good. I know I have always been a staunch friend of yours. You don't touch me to finish what you have to say. A twisted flash of pain shot across the painter's face. He paused for a moment and a feeling of pity came over him. After all, what right had he to pry into the life of Dorian Gray? If he had gone to tithe for what had been rumored about him, he must have suffered, and he straightened himself up and walked over to the fireplace and stood there, looking for the burning logs, their frost-like ashes in their throbbing course of flame. I'm waiting, Basil, said the young man in the hard, clear voice. He turned around. What I have to say is this, he cried. You must give me some answer to these horrible charges that I made against you. If you tell me what they are absolutely untrue from beginning to end, I shall believe you. Deny them, Dorian Gray. Dorian, deny them. Can't you see what I'm going through? My God, don't tell me that you are bad and corrupt and shameful. Dorian Gray smiled. There was a curl of contempt in his lips. Come upstairs, Basil, he said quietly. I keep a diary of my life from day to day. Never leaves the room in which it was written. I shall show you to you if you come with me. I shall come with you, Dorian, if you wish it. I see I have missed my train. That makes no matter. I can go tomorrow. But don't ask me to read anything tonight. All I want is a plain answer to my question. What shall be given to you upstairs? I could not give it here. You will not have to read long. That's a shorter chapter. Let's see. When is this next chapter? I don't know if it's me. I like seeing like how long the next chapter is. Okay. So wait, how long? Okay. So I guess tomorrow will be a shorter stream for reading, I guess. Because I was gonna say maybe we could do a whole stream of just reading the finishing of the book, but that is 6 chapters, and I don't know about that. Chapter 13. He passed out of the room and began to ascend. Basil Hallward followed close behind. They walked softly as men do instinctively at night. The lamp cast fantastic shadows on the wall and the staircase. A rising wind made some of the windows rattle. When they reached the top landing, Dorian set the lamp down on the floor, taking out the key and turned it to the lock. You insist on knowing, Basil? He asked in a low voice. Yes, I am delighted, he answered, smiling. Then he added, somewhat harshly, you are the one man in the world who is entitled to know everything about me. You have more to do with my life than you think. In taking up the lamp, he opened the door and went in. A cold current of air passed them. The light shot up for a moment, and the flames that murky orange. He shuddered. Shut the door behind you, he whispered, as he placed the lamp on the table. Howard glanced around with a puzzled expression. The room looked as if he had not lived in for years. A faded Flemish tapestry, a curtain picture, and an old Italian cassone. with an almost empty bookcase. That was all it seemed to contain, besides a chair and a table. As Dorian Gray was lighting a half-burned candle and standing on the mantel shelf, he saw that the whole place was covered with dust, and the carpet was in holes. A mouse ran scuttling behind the wainscoting. There's a damp odor of mildew. Do you think there is only God when... So you think that it is only God that sees the soul, Basil? Draw the curtain back, and you'll see mine. A voice that spoke was cold and cruel. You are mad, Dorian. Or playing a part, muttered Hallward, frowning. He won't. Then I must do it myself, said the young man, and he tore the curtain from this rod and flung it to the ground. An exclamation of horror broke out from the painter's lips as he saw the dim light, a hideous face in the canvas grinning at him. There was something in the expression that filled him with disgust and loathing. Good heavens, it was Dorian's own face that he was looking at. The horror, whatever it was, had not yet entirely spoiled the marvelous beauty. There was still some gold in the thinning hair, and some scarlet in the sensual mouth, the sodden eyes that kept something in the loveliness of the blue, and the noble curves that have not yet completely passed away from chiseling the nostrils and from the plastic throat. Yes, it was Dorian himself. But who had done it? It seemed to recognize his own brushwork and the form of his own design. The idea was monstrous, yet he felt afraid. He seized the lighted candle and held it to the picture. In the left-hand corner was his own name, traced in long letters of bright vermilion. It was some foul parody, some infamous and ignoble satire. He had never done that. Still, it was his own picture. He knew it, and he felt as if his own blood has changed for a moment and fired to sluggish ice. His own picture? What did it mean? Why had it been altered? He turned and looked at Dorian Gray with the eyes of a sick man. His mouth twitched and his parted tongue seemed unable to articulate. He passed his hand across his forehead. It was dank with clammy sweats. The young man was leaning against the mantel shelf, watching him with the strange expression that one sees in the faces of those who are absorbed in a play when some great artist is acting. There was neither real sorrow and is not real joy, nor real joy. There was simply the passion of the spectator, with perhaps a flicker of triumph in his eyes. He had taken a flower out of his coat, and he was smelling it pretending to do so. What does this mean? Cried Hallward at last. His own voice sounded shrill with curious at his ears. Years ago, when I was a boy, said Dorian Gray, crushing the flower in his hand, you met me, flattered me, and taught me to be vain in my own good looks. When one day you introduced me to a friend of yours, who explained to me the wonder of youth, and you finished a portrait of me and revealed it to me in the wonder of beauty. In a mad moment that, even now, I don't even remember, I don't know whether I regret it or not. I made a wish, perhaps you would call it a prayer. I remember it. Oh, how well I remember it. It's not the thing that was No, the thing is impossible. The room is damp. Mildew has gotten to the canvas. The paints I used had some wretched minerals poison in them. I tell you, the thing was impossible. Ah, what is impossible? Murmured the young man, going over the window and leaning his forehead against the cold mist-stained glass. You told me you had destroyed it. I was wrong. It has destroyed me. I can't believe it's my picture. Can't you see your ideal in it? Said Dorian bitterly. My ideal, as you call it? As you called it. There is nothing evil in it, nothing shameful. You were to me such an ideal I shall never meet again. This is the face of a satyr. It's the face of my soul. Christ, what a thing I must have worshipped, and it has the eyes of the devil. Each of us has heaven and hell in him, Basil, cried Dorian with a wild gesture of despair. Hallward turned again to the portrait and gazed at it. My God, is it true? He exclaimed. And this is what you've done with your life? Why, you must be worse than those who talk against you fancied you to be. He held the light up again in the canvas and examined it. The surface seemed to be quite undisturbed, as he had left it. It was from within, apparently, that the foulness of the horror had come, though some strange quickening of early life and leprosies of sin were slowly eating the thing away. The rotting of the corpse in the watery grave was not so fearful. His hand shook, and the candle fell from its socket on the floor, and lay there sputtering. He placed his foot on it and put it out. Then he flung himself in the rickety chair that was standing at the table and buried his face in his hands. Good God, Dorian, what a lesson. What an awful lesson. There was no answer, but you could hear the young man sobbing at the window. Pray, Dorian, pray, he murmured. What is that one was taught to say in one's boyhood? Lead us not into contempt. Forgive us of all of our sins. Wash away our inquiries. Let us say that together. The prayer of your pride has been answered. The prayer of your repentance will be answered also. I worshipped you too much. I am punished for it. You worship yourself too much. You are both punished. We are both punished. Dorian Gray turned slowly around and looked at him with tear-dimmed eyes. It is too late, Basil. He faltered. It is never too late. He faltered. It is never too late, Dorian. Let us kneel down and try as we cannot remember a prayer. Isn't there a verse somewhere? Through your sins be as scarlet, yet I make them as white as snow. Those words mean nothing to me now. Hush, Dorian, don't say that. Hush, don't say that. You have done nothing evil in your life. You have done enough evil in your life. My God. Don't you see that accursed thing leering at us? Dorian Gray glanced at the picture, and suddenly an uncontrollable feeling of hatred for Basil Hallward came over him, as though it had been suggested to him in the image of the canvas. Whispering into his ear from those grinning lips, the mad passions of his hunted animal stirring within him, he loathed the man who was seated at the table more than in his whole life. He had never loathed anything. He glanced wildly around. Something shimmered on the top of the painted chest that faced him. His eyes fell on it. He knew what it was. It was a knife that he had brought up some days ago to cut a piece of cord. He forgot to take it away with him. He moved slowly towards it, passing Hallward as he did. As soon as he got behind him, he seized it and turned around. Hallward stirred in his chair as if he was going to rise. He rushed at him and dug the knife in the great vein that is behind the ear, crushing the man's head down on the table and stabbing again and again. That was a stifled groan and a horrible sound that came from choking with blood. 3 times. The outstretched arm shot up convulsively, waving grotesque, stiff-fingered hands in the air. He stabbed them twice more, but the man did not move. Something began to trickle onto the floor. He waited for a moment, still pressing the head down. Then he threw the knife on the table. He listened. He could hear nothing but the drip on the threadbare carpet. He opened the door and went up on the landing. The house was absolutely quiet. No one was about. For a few seconds he stood bending over the balustrade and peering down the black seething well of darkness. Then he took out the key and returned to the room, locking himself in as he did so. The thing was still seated in the chair, straining over the table with bowed head and humped back and long fantastic arms. Had he been for the red jaguar tear in the neck, had it not been for the red jagged tear in the back. I don't know why I can't talk right now. It's very interesting. Where we leave off. Had it not been for the red jagged tear in the neck, in the clotted black pool that was slowly widening on the table. Someone would have said that the man was simply asleep. How quickly it had been done. He felt strangely calm, and walking toward the window, opened it and stepped out on the balcony. The wind had blown the fog away, and the sky was like a monstrous peacock's tail, starring with Madrids of golden eyes. He looked down and saw the policeman going his rounds and flashing the long beam of his lantern on the doors in the silent house. The crimson spot of prowling hansom gleamed in the corner of...
Will you give him a drink of water for Christ's sake?
Okay. I don't know if I can move these. It kind of is bugging me that I can't see. Okay, that's better. Okay, I am hydrating. I'll do one more. Yeah, I'll hydrate with my tea also. Okay. The crimson spot, the prowling handsome queen at the corner, and then vanished. A woman in a fluttering shawl was creeping slowly by the railing, staggering as she went. Now and then she stopped and peered back. Once she began to sing in a hoarse voice. The policeman strolled over and said something to her. She stumbled away laughing. A bitter blast swept over the square. The gas lamp flickered and became blue, and the leafless trees shook their black iron branches to and fro. She shivered and went back. He shivered and went back, closing the window behind him. Having reached the door, he turned the key and opened it. He did not even glance at the murdered man. He felt that the secret of the whole thing was not to realize the situation. The friend who had been pointed the fatal portrait to which the misery had been due had gone out of his life. That was enough. Then he remembered the lamp. It's rather curious one of the Moorish workmanship, made of dull silver inlaid with a brascus of burnished steel, and studded with coarse turquoise. Perhaps they might have missed by the servants, and questions would have been asked. He hesitated for a moment, then he turned back and took it from the table. Hi, Lizard. How are you doing? Are you having a great Valentine's Day? Perhaps it might be missed by the servants and questions would be asked. He hesitated for a moment, then he turned back and took it from the table. He could not help seeing the dead thing. How still it was, how horrible white the long hands looked. It was like a dreadful wax image. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Colds are the worst. Having locked the door behind him, he crept slowly downstairs. The woodwork creaked and seemed to cry out as if in pain. He stopped several times and waited. No, everything was still. It was merely the sound of his own footsteps. When he reached the library, he saw the bag and coat on the corner. They must be hidden away somewhere. He unlocked a secret press that was in the wainscoting, a press in which he kept his own curious disguise, and put them into it. He could easily burn them afterwards. Then he pulled out his watch, and it was 20 minutes to 2. He sat down and began to think. Every year, every month almost, men were stranded in England for what he had done. There had been madness of murder in the air. Some red stars had come too close to the earth, and yet, what evidence was there against him? Basil had left his house at 11. No one had seen him come in again. Most of the servants were at Shelby Wharrell. His valet was gone to bed. Paris. Yes, he was to Paris, that Basil had gone by the midnight train, as he had intended. With his curious reserved habits. It'd be months before any suspicions would be aroused. Months. Everything could be destroyed long before then. A sudden thought struck him. He put in his fur coat and hat, went out to the hall. Then he paused, hearing slowly heavy tread on the policeman of the pavement outside and seeing the flash of the bullseyes reflecting the windows. He waited and held his breath. After a few moments, he drew back the latch and slipped out, shutting the door very gently behind him, and then he began ringing the bell. About 5 minutes, his valet appeared, half dressed and looking very drowsy. "I'm sorry that I had to wake you up, Francis," he said, stepping in, "but I've forgotten my latchkey. What time is it?" 2 minutes past 2. 10 minutes past 2, sir," answered the man, looking at the clock and blinked. 10 minutes past 2? How horribly late. You must wake me up at 9 tomorrow. I have some work to do. All right, sir. Did anyone call this evening? Mr. Hallward, sir. He stayed here till 11, and he went away to catch his train. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't see him. Did he leave any messages? No, sir. So that he would write to you from Paris. If he did not find you at the club. That will do, Francis. Don't forget to call me at 9 tomorrow. No, sir. The man shambled down the passage in his slippers. Dorian Gray threw his hat and coat upon the table and passed into the library. A quarter of an hour he walked up and down the room, biting his lips and thinking. Then he took down the blue book from one of the shelves and began to turn over the leaves. Alan Campbell, 152 Hertford Street, Mayfair. Yes, that was the man he wanted. That was a very short chapter. We only have four chapters left. Like, what? That's only 4 chapters. We only started the book this week, I'm pretty sure. But again, I am pretty used to, this book, yeah, comparison. How long is this? Please be a long chapter. Okay. This one's a little bit long. We're gonna do 2 more chapters. It's not even an hour. 170, 240. Okay, let's do 2 more chapters. Then we'll do a double stream tomorrow to make up for it. So we'll do a shorter reading stream, and then we'll do maybe a sim stream. We haven't done that in a bit. Chapter 14. At 9 o'clock the night. Wait, let me get a drink of my tea first. At 9 o'clock the next morning, a servant came in with a cup of chocolate on a tray. Opened the shutters. Dorian was sleeping quite peacefully, lying on his right side with one hand underneath his cheek. He looked like a boy who had been tired out of play or study. The man had to touch him twice on the shoulder before he woke, and as he opened his eyes, a faint smile passed across his lips, as though he had been lost by some delightful dream. He had not yet dreamed at all. His night had been untroubled by any images of pleasure or of pain. But youth smiles without any reason is one of its chiefest charms. He turned around and leaned upon his elbow, began to sip his chocolate. The mellow November came streaming into the room. Okay, also, I was thinking, maybe we do like an earlier reading stream tomorrow, possibly, I'm not 100% sure. But what time, so I was thinking, so I normally stream, so it's around 9:30 my time right now, and I was thinking maybe we do like a 1 or 2 stream tomorrow, so like 1 or 2 p.m. my time, so Eastern time. And I want to see like if people would be able to watch that one instead tomorrow, because I don't know, I just feel like I always play Sims for like only like 2 hours, and then because I usually do this on double stream days. I kind of want to allocate some more time to The Sims, because I haven't played in a bit. I could do the other way around, actually. But I don't know, I want to see. I want to switch up on the weekends, like what times I stream. But he smiles without any reason. As one of those chiefest charms, he turned around and leaned upon his elbow, began to sip his chocolate. The mellow November sun came streaming into the room. The sky was bright, and there was a genial warmth in the air, and almost like a morning in May. Gradually, the events of the preceding night crept with a silent, blood-stained feet into his brain and reconstructed themselves there with a terrible distinctness. He winced at the memory of all that he had suffered, and for a moment the same curious feeling of loathing for Basil Hallward that had made him kill him. As he sat in the air, came back to him, as he grew cold with passion. The dead man was still sitting there too, in the sunlight now. How horrible that was! Such hideous things for the darkness, not for the day, are meant for the darkness, not for the day. He felt that he brooded on what he had gone through. He would sicken or grow mad. Those were sins whose fascination was more in the memory than the doing of them. The strange triumphs that gratified the pride more than the passions, and that gave him the intellect or quickened sense of joy, greater than any joy that they brought up, or could ever bring to the senses. That was not one of them. It was a thing that could be driven out of the mind, or to be drugged with poppies, or be strangled lest it might strangle one itself. When half an hour struck, he passed his hand across his forehead, and then got up hastily and dressed himself with even more than his usual care, giving a good deal of attention to the choice of his necktie and scarf pinned and changed his rings more than once. He spent a long time over breakfast, taking the very dishes, talking to his valet about some more liveries that he was thinking of getting made for the servants at Shelby, and going through his correspondence. At some of the letters, he smiled. 3 of them bored him. One he read several times over and then tore him up with the slightest look of annoyance on his face. That awful thing! In one's memory, as Lord Henry had once said. After he had drunk a cup of black coffee, he wiped his lips slowly with a napkin, motioned for his servants to wait, and going over to his table, sat down and wrote 2 letters. One was put in his pocket, the other he handed to the valet. Take this to number 152, Hartford Street, Francis. And if Mr. Campbell is out of town, get his address. As soon as he was alone, he lit a cigarette and began sketching upon a piece of paper. First drawing flowers and bits of architecture, and then human feces? Suddenly he remarked that every face he drew seemed to have a fantastic likeness to Basil Hallward. He frowned, and getting up, walked toward the bookcase and took out a volume at hazard. He was determined that he would not think of what had happened until it became absolutely necessary that he should do so. When he was stretched himself on the sofa, he looked at the title page of the book. It was Gaudier's Amex de Campi. I'm butchering French, I am sorry. Carpenter's Japanese paper edition with the Jacquemart's etchings. The binding was of citron green leather with a design of gilt trellis work and dotted pomegranates, been given to him by Adrian Singleton. As he turned over the pages, his eyes fell on a poem from that land of Lacenaire, the cold yellow hand, the Sepul encore mal leve, with its dowry red hairs and its I'm gonna butcher French, I apologize. Dolets de Fawn. He glanced at his own taper fingers, shuddering slightly in spite of himself, and passed on until he came to this lovely stanza about Venice. Okay, I'm horrible at French, and I took 3 years of it, so I'm just gonna show you what the poem is. and just skip over it. So, that is the poem, if you can even read that. I apologize if you cannot read that. But yeah. How exquisite they were. Oh, it's a loosely there's a translated thing on the bottom of the page. Okay, never mind. Okay. I don't know why, I didn't notice that. Loosely translated on the chromatic notes, gently dripping on her breast, the Venus of rose and whites rest her domes fell above the blue waters. The contours of a phrase so pure, like the throats that bob and dip, raising a sigh of love. A skiff comes and I alights as an anchor is flipping its ropes in the pink facade town on the marble stairs. How exquisite they were! And as one read them, one seemed to be floating down the green riverways of the pink and pearl city, seated in a black gondola, with silver prow and trellis curtains. The mere lines looked at him as like the straight lines of turquoise blue. That follows the one that pushed out the that follow one as one pushes. Okay, I don't know why I have a problem with reading apparently. That follow one as one pushes one out of limbo. Not limbo. Where did I get limbo from? Lido. It's Lido. The sudden flashes of color reminded him of the gleam of the opal and iris-throated birds that fluttered around the tall honeycomb campfire or stalk with such stately grace through the dim, dust-stained arcades, leaning back at the half-closed eyes. He kept saying over and over, saying over and over to himself, today is not a good reading stream. I apologize. Devantone, Facade Rose, sur la marble to an escalier. I apologize if there is somehow French speakers. The whole of Venice was in those two lines. He remembered the autumn he had passed there, and a wonderful love that had stirred him with mad delightful follies. There's a romance in every place, but Venice, like Oxford, had kept the background for romance. And to the true romance background of everything, or almost everything, Basil had been with him part of the time, had gone wild over Trito. Poor Basil. What a horrible, where did I get lovely from? A horrible way for a man to die. He sighed and took up the volume again, tried to forget. He read the swallows that fly in and out of the little cafe at Esmera, where the headies sit, counting the emperor beans, and the turbaned merchants smoke their long tasseled pipes and talk gravely to each other. He read of the obelisk in the Place de la Concorde, that wept tears of granite in its lovely sunless exile that longs to be back by the hot lotus-covered Nile, where there are sphinxes and rose-red ibises and white vultures with gilded claws and crocodiles with small barrel eyes that crawled over the green-seeming mud. He began to brood over those verses which strong music from kiss-stained marble tell the curious statue that Gautier compares to a controlled voice, the monstrous charmant that couches in the periphery room of the Louvre. But after a time, the book fell from his hands. He grew nervous, and a horrible fit of terror came over him. What if Alton Campbell should be out of London? Days would lapse before he could come back. Perhaps he might refuse to come back. What could he do now? What can he do then? Every moment was out of vital importance. They'd been great friends once, 5 years before, almost inseparable indeed. Then the intimacy had come sudden to an end. They had met in society now. It was only Dorian Gray who smiled. Alan, where'd I get Alton from? Alan Campbell never did. He was an extremely clever man. Though he would have no real appreciation for the visible arts, whatever little sense of the beauty of poetry he possessed was gained entirely from Dorian. His dominant intellectual passion was for science. At Cambridge, he had spent a great deal of his time working in the laboratory. He had taken a good class in the natural science.
Will you give him a drink of water for Christ's sake?
Max! Okay, I actually do need water. He had spent a great deal of his time working in a laboratory, had taken a good class in the natural science tripos of his year. Indeed, he was still devoted to the study of chemistry and had a laboratory of his own, in which he used to shut himself up all day long, greatly to the annoyance of his mother, who had set her heart on the standing for Parliament, had a vague idea that a chemist was a person who made up prescriptions. He was an excellent musician, however, as well, and played both the violin and piano better than most amateurs. In fact, it was music that was first brought him and Dorian Gray together, music and the indefiable attraction that Dorian seemed to exercise wherever he wishes. And indeed, exercised often without being conscious of it. They had met at Lady Berkshire's the night of the Rubinstein. Rubinstein is a Russian painter and composer, Anton Rubinstein. Now that Rubinstein played there. And after that used to be always seen together at the opera whenever good music was going on. For 18 months. Their intimacy lasted. Campbell was always either at Shelby Royal or the Grosvenor Square. To him, as to many others, Dorian Gray was the type of everything that is wonderful and fascinating in life. Whenever and after quarrel they had taken place between, no one ever knew, but suddenly people remarked that they scarcely spoke when they met, and that Campbell seemed always to go away early from a party in which Dorian Gray was present. He had changed, too, was strangely melancholy at times, appearing almost to dislike hearing music, and would never himself play, giving it as an excuse when he was called upon, that he was so absorbed in science that he had no time left in which to practice. This was certainly true. Every day he had seemed to become more interested in biology, and the name appeared once or twice in some scientific interviews in connection with certain curious experiments. That was the man Dorian was waiting for. Every time he kept glancing at the clock as the minutes went on, he became horribly agitated. At last he looked up and began to pace up and down the room, looking at it like a beautiful caged thing. He took long, steady strides. His hands were curiously cold. The suspense became unbearable. Time seemed to him to be crawling with the feet of lead, while he by monstrous winds was being swept together at the jagged edge of some black cliff of precipice. He knew what he was waiting for him there, saw it indeed, and shuddered, shuddering, crushed with the dank hands, his burning lids, as though he had been robbed by very brain of such, driven by eyeballs back into their caves. It was useless. The brain had its own food in which it battered. The imagine made grotesque by fear, twisted and distorted in a living thing of pain, danced by like some foul puppet on a stand and grinned through moving mask. Then suddenly time stopped for him. Yes, that blind, slow-breathing thing crawled no more, and horrible thoughts, time became dead, raced nimbly on the front, and dragged a hideous future from its grave, and showed it to him. It stared at him. Its horror made him stone. At the last the door opened and the servant entered. He turned, glazed up eyes upon him. "Mr. Campbell, sir," said the man. A sigh of relief broke from his parched lips, and the color came back to his cheeks. "Ask him to come in at once, Francis." He felt that he was himself again. His mood cowardness had passed on. The man bowed and retired. In a few moments, Alan Campbell walked in, looking very stern and rather pale. His pallor began, intensifying his coal-black hair and dark eyebrows. Alan, this is kind of you. I thank you for coming. I had intended never to enter your house again, Gray. But you said it was a matter of life and death. His voice was very hard and cold. He spoke with slow deliberation. There was a look of contempt in that steady, searching gaze, and he turned on Dorian. He kept his hands in his pockets of his astrakhan coat, and seemed not to have noticed the gesture in which he had been greeted. Yes, it is a matter of life and death. Alan. I don't know why I keep saying Alan. Alan. As in more than one person. Sit down. Campbell took a chair on the table, and Dorian sat opposite to him. The two men's eyes met, and Dorian there was infinite pity. He knew what he was going to do was dreadful. After a strained moment of silence, he leaned across and said very quietly, but watching the effect of each word upon the face of him he had sent for. Alan, in the locked room at the top of the house, a room where nobody but myself had access, a dead man is seated at the table. He'd been dead for 10 hours now. Don't stir, and don't look at me like that. Who the man is, why he died, how he died, are matters that do not concern you. What have you done? But you have to do this. Stop, Gray. I don't want you to know anything further. Whether you have told me is true or not true, doesn't concern me. I entirely decline to be mixed up in your life. Keep your horrible secrets to yourself. They don't interest me anymore. Alan. I don't know why I keep saying Alan. I don't know. Alan. Alan just seems weird to say in this book. I don't know why. Alan. They will have to interest you. This is one you will have to interest you. I am awfully sorry for you, Alan, but I can't help myself. You're the one man who was able to save me. I am forced to bring you into the matter. I have no option. Alan, you are scientific. You know what chemistry and things of the kind. You have made experiments. What have you got to do is destroy the thing that upstairs, to destroy it so there's no vesticle of it will be left. Nobody saw the person come into my house. Indeed, at the present moment, he is supposed to be in Paris. He will not be missed for months. When he is missed, there must be no trace of him found here. You, Alan, you must change him, anything that belongs to him, to a handful of ashes that I may scatter in the air. You are mad, Dorian. I was waiting for you to call me Dorian. You are mad, I tell you. Mad to imagine, and I will raise a finger to help you. Mad that I'll make this monstrous confession. I'll have nothing to do with the matter, whatever it is. Do you think I'm going to peril my reputation for you? What is it to me that the devil works you are up to? It was suicide, Alan. I'm glad of that, but who drove him to it? You, I should fancy? You still refuse to do this for me? Of course I refuse. I'll have absolutely nothing to do with it. I don't care what shame comes to you. You deserve all of it. I should not be sorry to see you disgraced. Publicly disgraced. How dare you ask me? Of all men in the world to mix myself up in this horror. I should have thought you more about people's characters. Your friend Lord Henry Walton can have taught you much about psychology. Whatever else he had taught you, nothing will induce me to stir or to step to help you. You have come to the wrong man. Go to some of your friends. Don't come to me. Alan, it was murder. I killed him. You don't know what he had made me suffer. Whatever my life is, he had more to do with the making of the marring of it than poor Harry has had. It may not have been intended to, but the results were the same. Murder? Good God, Dorian, is that what you have come to? I shall not inform upon you. It is not my business. Besides, without my stirring in the matter, you will certainly be arrested. Nobody ever commits a crime without doing something stupid. I will have nothing to do with it. You must have something to do with it. Wait a moment. Listen to me. Only listen, Alan. All I ask of you is to perform a certain scientific experiment. You go to hospitals and dead houses, and the horrors that you do there don't affect you. If I in some hideous dissecting room or fetal laboratory, you found this man lying on the laden table with the red gutter scooped out and for the blood to flow through, you would simply look upon him an admirable subject. You will not turn a hair. You would not believe you were doing anything wrong. On the contrary, you would probably feel that you were benefiting the human race or increasing the sum of knowledge in the world, or gratifying intellectual curiosity, or something of the kind. What I want you to do is merely what you have done before. Indeed, to destroy a body must be far less horrible than what you're accusing accustomed to work at. And remember that it's only a piece of evidence against me. If it is to be discovered, I am lost. And it is sure to be discovered unless you help me. Some water. As I reach for tea. Okay. Okay. Where do we leave off? I have no desire to help you. You forgot that. I am simply indifferent to the whole thing. It has nothing to do with me. Oh, and I'm entreat you. Think of the position I am in. Just before you came, I almost fainted with terror. You may know terror yourself someday. No, I don't think of that. Look at the matter purely from the scientific point of view. You don't inquire there are dead things on which you experiments come from. Don't inquire now. I have told you much as it is. I beg for you to do this. We are friends once, Alan. Don't speak about those days, Dorian. They are dead. The dead linger sometimes. The man upstairs will not go away. He is sitting on the table with bowed head and outstretched arms. Alan, if you don't come to my assistance, I am ruined. Why will they hang me? Alan, don't you understand? They will hang me for what I have done. There's no good in prolonging this scene. I absolutely refuse to do anything in the matter. It was insane for you to ask me. You refuse? Yes. I entreat you, Alan. It is useless. The same look of pity came into Dorian Gray's eyes. Then he outstretched his hand and took a piece of paper and wrote something on it. He read it over twice, folded it carefully, and pushed it across the table. Having done this, he got up and went out the window, to look out the window. Campbell looked at him in surprise, then took up the paper and opened it. As he read it, his face became ghastly pale as he fell back into his chair. A horrible sense of sickness came over him. He felt as if his heart was beating itself to death in some empty hollow. After 2 or 3 minutes, in terrible silence, Dorian turned around and came and stood behind him, putting his hands upon his shoulders. I am so sorry for you, Alan, he muttered. But you leave me no alternative. I have a letter written already. Here it is. You see the address. If you don't help me, I must send it. If you don't help me, I will send it. If you don't help me, I must send it. If you don't help me, I will send it. Did I just repeat the same thing? Wait, what? If you don't help me, I must send it. If you don't help me, I will send it. You know the results will be, but you are going to help me. It is impossible for you to refuse now. I try to spare you. I will do the justice to admit that. You were stern, harsh, offensive. You treat me as no man has ever dared to treat me. No living man, at any rate, I bore it all. Now as for me to dictate terms, Campbell buried his face in his hands, and a shudder passed through him. Yes, it is my turn to dictate terms. Alan. You know what they are. The thing is quite simple. Come, don't work yourself into this fever. The thing has to be done. Face it, and do it. A groan broke from Campbell. Lips in a shiver and shivered all over, and the tickling of the clock on the mantelpiece seemed to him to be dividing time into separate atoms of agony, each of which were too terrible to be borne. He felt as if the iron rings were being slowly tightened around his forehead, as if the disgrace from which he was threatened he had already came to be. The hand upon his shoulder weighed like a hand of lead. It was intolerable. It seemed to crush him. Come on, Alan. You must decide at once. I cannot do it, he said, mechanically, as though words could alter things. You must. You have no choice. Don't delay. He hesitated a moment. Is there a fire in the room upstairs? Yes, there is a gas fire with asbestos. I shall have to go home and get some things from the laboratory. No, Alan. You must not leave the house. Write out on a sheet of notepaper what you want, and my service will take a cab and bring the things back to you. Campbell scrawled a few lines, blotted them, and addressed an envelope to his assistant. Dorian took the note up and read carefully. Then he rang the bell, gave it to his valet with orders to return as soon as possible and to bring those things with him. As the door shut, Campbell started nervously, and having got up from the chair and went down to the chimney piece, he was shivering with a kind of ague. For nearly 20 minutes, neither of the men spoke. A fly buzzing noisily around the room, and the tickling of the clock was like a beat of a hammer. As the chime struck 1, Campbell turned round, and looking at Dorian Gray, saw that his eyes were filled with tears. There was something in the purity of refinement that the sad face that seemed to enrage him. You are infamous. Absolutely infamous, he muttered. Hush, Alan. You saved my life, said Dorian. Your life? Good heavens, what a life that is. You have gone from corruption to corruption. Now you have accumulated in the crime. In doing what I am doing, you have forced me to do it. It is not your life that I am thinking. Ah, Alan, murmured Dorian with a sigh. I wish you had thousandth part of the pity of me, and I have for you. He turned away as he spoke, and then stood looking out of the garden. Campbell made no answer. After about 10 minutes to knock on the door, then the servant entered, carrying a large mahogany chest of chemicals, with a long coil of steel and platinum wired to rather curiously shaped iron clamps. Shall I leave the things here, sir? He asked Campbell. Yes, said Dorian. I'm afraid, Francis, that I have another errand for you. What is the name of the man at Richmond who supplies Shelby with orchids? Hardin, sir. Yes, Hardin. You must go down to Richmond at once. See Hardin personally and tell him to send 20 as many orchids as they ordered, and to have as few white ones as possible. In fact, I don't want any white ones. It is a lovely day, Francis, and Richmond is a very pretty place. Otherwise, I won't bother you about it. No trouble, sir. What time shall I be back? Dorian looked at Campbell. How long does your experiments take? Alan, he said in a calm, indifferent voice. The presence of the third person in the room seemed to give him extraordinary courage. Campbell frowned and bit his lip. It'll take me 5 hours, he answered. It'll be time enough then, and you are back in 7:30, Francis. Or stay, just leave my things out for dressing. You can have the evening to yourself. I am not dining at home, so I shall not want you. Thank you, sir, said the man leaving the room. Now, Alan, there is not a moment to be lost. How heavy this chest is. I'll take it for you. You bring the other things. He spoke rapidly with an authoritative manner. Campbell felt dominated by him. They left the room together. When they reached the top landing, Dorian took out the key and turned it in the lock. Then he stopped, and a troubled look came into his eyes. He shuddered. I don't think I can go in on Alan, he murmured. It is nothing to me. I don't require you, said Campbell coldly. Dorian half opened the door. As he did so, he saw the face of his portrait leering in the sunlight. On the floor in front of the torn curtain was lying. He remembered that the night before he had forgotten, for the first time in his life, to hide the fatal canvas, and he was about to rush forward when he drew back with a shudder. That was the loathsome red dew that gleamed, wet with the glistening of one of his hands as though the canvas was sweating blood. How horrible it was! More horrible it seemed to him for the moment of silence that he knew was stretched across the table. Then the silent thing he knew was... Oh, I already read that part. The thing was grotesque, misshapen. Shadow on the sprouting carpet showed him that it had not stirred, but it was still there as he left it. He heaved a deep breath, opened the door a little wider, with half-closed eyes and averted head, walked quickly in, determined that he would not look even once upon the dead man. Then stopping down and taking up the golden nap and purple hangings, he flung it right over the picture. There he stopped, feeling afraid to turn around, and his eyes fixed itself on the intricacy of the pattern before him. He heard Campbell bring the heavy chests and the irons and the other things that had required for his dreadful work. He began to wonder if he and Basil had ever met. And if so, would they have thought of each other? Leave me now, he said in a stern voice behind him. He turned and hurried out, just conscious of the dead man had been thrust back in the chair and that Campbell was gazing in the glistening yellow face. He was going downstairs. He heard the key being turned in the lock. It was long after 7 when Campbell came back into the library. He was pale but absolutely calm. I have done what you asked me to do, he muttered, and now goodbye. Let us never see each other again. You have saved me from ruin, Alan. I cannot forget that, said Dorian simply. As soon as Campbell had left, he went upstairs. There was a horrible smell of nitric acid in the room. The thing had been sitting on the table was gone. Okay, that's so... How long is this chapter? Is this a short chapter? We'll do one more chapter. I feel like this is not, because we're only less than an hour and a half in. Okay, we'll do is this chapter short then? Okay. Yeah, okay, so we'll leave 3 chapters for tomorrow, then the book will be finished. Okay, so 2 more chapters, and then we'll finish the book tomorrow with 3 chapters. Well, actually, it really depends on if my voice will let me finish 2 more chapters, but we'll find out by the end of this chapter. Chapter 15. That evening at 8:30, exquisitely dressed and wearing a large buttonhole of Parma violets, Dorian Gray was ushered into Lady Norborough's dressing room by bound servants. His forehead was throbbing with maddened nerves, and he felt wildly excited, for his manner, as he bent over to toast his hands, was as easy and graceful as ever. Perhaps no one ever seems as much as one ease when one has to play a positive part. Certainly no one looking at Dorian Gray that night could have believed that he had passed through a tragedy as horrible as any tragedies at our age. Those finely shaped fingers could have never clutched a knife for sin, nor those smiling lips have cried out on God and goodness. He felt himself, could not help wondering with the calm of his demeanor, for a moment felt kneeling the terrible pleasure of a life. It was a small party, got up rather in a hurry by Lady Norrborough, who had been a very clever woman, what Lord Harry used to describe as the remains of a rather remarkable ugliness. She had proved an excellent wife to one of the most tedious ambassadors, and having buried her husband properly in a marble mausoleum, which she had herself designed, and married off her daughters to some rich, rather elderly men, she devoted herself now to the pleasure of French fiction, French cookery, and French esprit when she could get it. Dorian was one of her esprit's favorites. She had always told him that she was extremely glad to not have met him in early life. I know, my dear, I should have fallen madly in love with you she would used to say, and thrown my bonnet rather over the mills. For your sake, it was most fortunate that you were not thought of at the time. Hi. Wait. Seven stream streak? Oh my goodness. My goodness. I don't know who else would have, like, I know that Curly has a stream streak of 16, that Winter's a stream streak of 20. I don't know anyone else who has, maybe Nick would be, I think you might be third place. I'm not really sure.
Driving in my car right after a beer. Hey, that bomb is shaped like a deer. DUI, how about you die? I'll go 100 miles.
Okay. Yeah, I think you might be third place, unless someone else says what they are. So I think it's Winter, then Curly, then you, I believe. Where did we leave off? As it was, our bonnets were so unbecoming, and the mills were so occupied in trying to raise the wind. I had never even a flirtation with anybody. However, that was all Nuremberg's fault. He was dreadfully short-sighted, and there was no pleasure in taking a husband who had never seen anything. Her guests not even rather tedious. The fact was that she explained Dorian behind a very shabby fan. One of her married daughters had come up quite suddenly to stay with her. It made matters worse that actually brought her husband with her. I think it's most unkind of her, my dear, she whispered. Of course I go and stay with them every summer after I come from Hamburg. But it's that an old woman like me must be a fresh air sometimes, and besides, I really wake them up too. You don't know what an existence they lead up there. It's pure unalterated country life. They get up early because they have so much to do, and go to bed early because they have so little to think about. There has not been a scandal in the neighborhood since the time of Queen Elizabeth, and consequently they all fall asleep after dinner. They shan't sit next to each other, either of them. You shall sit by me and amuse me. Dorian murmured a graceful compliment and looked round the room. Yes, it was certainly a tedious party. Two people had never seen before, and the others consisted of Ernest Harrowden and one of the middle-aged mediocrities. Mediocrities, yes, that's right. So common in London clubs, who have no enemies, but those thoroughly disliked by their friends. Lady Ruxton, an overdressed woman of 47 with a hooked nose, who had always tried to get herself compromised, was so peculiarly plain with that to her great disappointment no one ever believed anything against her. Mrs. Erlyn, a pushing nobody, with a delightful lisp and a Venetian red hair. Lady Alice Chapman, his hostess's daughter, a dowdy, dull girl, with one of those characteristic British faces that once seen are never remembered, and her husband, a red-cheeked, white-whiskered creature who, like so many of his class, was under the impression that an ornate joviality can atone for his entire lack of ideas. He was rather sorry he had come, told Lady Norva, looking at the great oval gilt clock that sprawled in gaudy curves on the moth-draped mantel-shelf, exclaimed, "How horrid of Henry Watson to be so late! I sent round for him this morning on chance he would promise faithfully not to disappoint me." My voice is starting to hate me. It was some consolation that Harry was there. When the door opened, he heard slow musical voice lending charm to some. In sincere apology, he ceased to feel bored. But at dinner he could not eat anything. Plate after plate went away untasted. Lady Narborough kept scolding him for what she had called an insult to poor Adolphe, who invented the menu specially for you. And now and then Lord Henry looked across at him. Wondering at his silence and abstracted manner, from time to time the butler filled his glass with champagne. He drank eagerly. Oh my goodness! Hi! Welcome in. Everyone is having an amazing day.
Arthur Irving Rush rated your channel
Hi.
with 3 viewers.
We're so close to oh my goodness. Thank you.
Zian_Sue followed your
Yes,
channel.
I know. We're so close to finishing it. We have, I believe, 4 chapters left. So, no, 5 chapters. We have 5, including this one. Yeah. We have 5 chapters left. I'm very, very sad about that.
Merry Christmas!
Oh, goodness.
Zian_Sue gifted 1
Oh,
subscription.
thank you. Yeah, I might ask TikTok what our next book should be. I'm not really sure. Because it obviously has to be a public domain book. I was thinking maybe we should read Brave New World? Possibly. We're gonna read Frankenstein too. I know that Tex-Mex really likes horror books, so we might read Frankenstein. But I was thinking maybe Brave New World. 1 to 2, I think. I don't know, I'm trying to get more into classics this year, if you can't tell. Yeah. I believe it is. Wait, let me check. I thought it was. I hope I'm not wrong. I'll be very sad if I'm wrong. I thought it was. Oh, I might be thinking about I might be thinking about 1984. Is that what I'm thinking of? No. It's public domain in 2 years. That's what I was thinking. In 2 years will be public domain. Okay. I thought it was already public domain. I guess not. Okay, never mind. I can't read that. I have to wait 2 years to read that. It becomes public domain on January 2028. Sadly. There's some very fun books that are newly added this year. Just Hawkins. Faulkner? Ooh. Okay. That's good to know. I really need to get some Jules Verne. I feel like my stream would really love. I really love his books. So, I will look through my books and figure out which books are public domain, and maybe I'll post on TikTok. My TikTok is linked in my info section. I need to post more book content. I post I post haphazardly on there. Like, not haphazardly. My content is haphazard. I post almost every day. Yes. Yes. I feel like that's why I think that they might like it. I feel like you guys might like it. I don't have any of his books currently, though. I need to get some of his books, but I know the premise of his books and everything, and I feel like the contents, and I have read snippets of it. Let's see, what else do I have? I'm not sure. I'll go through it after stream. Okay, let's get back into it. And I apologize. My voice is starting to hate me now. So, the stream might not be this reading stream might not be too great. Now where did we leave off? It was some consolation that Harry was to be there. When the door opened, he had heard his slow musical voice, lending charm to Simpson's insincere apology. He ceased to feel bored, but at dinner he could not eat anything. Plate after plate went away untasted. Lady Narborough kept scolding him for what she called an insult to poor Adolph, who invented the menu especially for you. And now and then Lord Henry looked across at him, wondering at his silence in an abstracted manner. From time to time the butler filled his glass with champagne. He drank eagerly, and his thirst seemed to increase. "Dorian," said Lord Henry at last, I need to learn French. I took 3 years of French in high school, and I know nothing still. The Schadenfreude was being handed around. What is the matter with you tonight? You are quite out of sorts. I believe he is in love, cried Lady Narborough. That he is afraid to tell me for fear I should be jealous. He is quite right. I certainly should. For the last person. I know, it's just like these chapters have been filled with French more than the last chapters. I'm like, okay. Lady Norborough, murmured Dorian, smiling. I have not been in love for a whole week. Not, in fact, since Madame de Freud left town. I'm not furied. Frol.
Will you give him a drink of water for Christ's sake?
No, Winter! The crimes against the French language I have heard this man commit. It's important. Yeah, I know water is important. I don't know. I sort of know, like, how words are supposed to be pronounced, but I still, like, no. Because, like, the only thing that I've learned in the 3 years I took French was if I'm blatantly mispronouncing a word. Yeah. How you men can fall in love with that woman, exclaimed the old lady. I cannot understand it. It is simply because she remembers you when you were a little girl, Lady Narborough, said Lord Henry. She is the one link between us and your short frocks. She does not remember my short frocks at all, Lord Henry, but I remember her very well at Vienna 30 years ago, and how Delectere, which means with a low-cut dress. That's why I like this edition. This edition has little like things. I don't know the actual name for them, where they like tell you what things mean at the bottom of the page. I love this. That's why I really like this edition. She's still Delectere. I feel fancy saying that, even though I don't know French. I know I'm mispronouncing that. He answered, taking an olive in his long fingers. When she is in a very smart gown, she looks like an edition of Deluxe in a bad French novel. She's really wonderful and full of surprises. Her capacity for family affection is extraordinary. When her third husband died, her hair turned quite cold from grief. How can you, Harry? Cried Dorian. It is the most romantic explanation, laughed the hostess. But her third husband, Lord Henry, you don't mean to say Ferrol is the fourth? Certainly, Lady Narborough. I can't believe a word of it. Well, ask Mr. Gray. He's one of her most intimate friends. Is it true, Mr. Gray? She assures me so, Lady Narborough, said Dorian. I asked her whether, like the Marquise de Nevers, she has her hearts embalmed and hung at her girdle. She told me she didn't, because none of them have any hearts at all. 4 husbands? Upon my word. That is, Trompe-l'oeil, which means too bold. To keen, too bold. No, it's not. Never mind. The one beneath it is never mind. I don't know why. I thought the quotation mark was one of the symbols for some reason. Trompe-l'oeil, which is too keen, too bold. I tell her, said Dorian. Oh, she is audacious enough for anything, my dear. And what is Ferrol like? I don't know him. The husband of a very beautiful woman belonged to the criminal classes, said Lord Henry, spitting his wine. Lady Narborough hit him with her fan. Lord Henry, I am not at all surprised that the world says that you are extremely wicked. But what world says that? Said Lord Henry, elevating his eyebrows. It is only the next world. The world that this world and I are on excellent terms. Everybody I know says that you are very wicked, cried the old lady, shaking her head. Lord Henry looked very serious in this moment. It is perfectly monstrous, he said at last. The way people are nowadays. Saying things against one behind one's back is absolutely entirely true. Isn't he incorrigible? Cried Dorian Gray, leaning forward in his chair. I hope so, said his hostess, laughing. But really, if you all worship Madame de Ferrol in this ridiculous way, I shall have to marry again, so as to be in the faction. Apparently, I can't read today. So I can be in fashion. You will never marry again, Lady Narborough, broke in Lord Henry. You are far too happy. When a woman marries again, it's because she detests her first husband. When a man marries again, it's because he adores his first wife. Women try their luck, men risk theirs. Narborough wasn't perfect, cried the old lady. If he had been, you would not have loved him, my dear lady, was the rejoinder. Women love us for our defects. If we have enough of them, they will forgive us everything, even our intellects. You will never again ask me for dinner again after saying this, I am afraid, Miss Lady Narborough, but it is quite true. Of course it is true, Lord Henry. If we women did not love you for your defects, where would you all be? Not one of you would ever be married. You would be all set of unfortunate bachelors. Not however, that would be alter. I don't know why I can't read today. I'm very sorry. Not however, that would alter you much. Nowadays, all the married men live like bachelors, and all the bachelors look like they're married men. Why is there so much French in this? Siskel? Not it's sickle, right? Murmured Lord Henry. Findiglow, answered his hostess. I wish it were Findiglow. Which that means... Wait, where is that? I don't know what that means. Something's the end of the world. I saw something's marked as the end of the world. I don't know what that means. Where that asterisk is. It's somewhere. There's way too many. I don't know where that is. Ah, my dear, cried Lady Narborough, putting on her gloves, don't tell me they have exhausted life. When a man says that one knows that life has exhausted them, Lord Henry is very wicked, and I sometimes wish that I had been better. But you are made to be good. You look so good, I must find you a nice wife, Lord Henry. Don't you think that Mr. Gray should get married? I'm always telling him that, so. Lady Narborough, said Lord Henry with a bow. Well, we must look for a suitable match for him. I shall go through Deprez carefully tonight and cross out a list of his eligible young ladies. With their age, Lady Narborough, asked Dorian Gray. Of course. With their ages, slightly edited, but nothing must be done in a hurry. I want it to be what the Morning Post calls a suitable alliance, and I want you both to be happy. What nonsense people talk about happy marriages, exclaimed Lord Henry. A man can be happy with any woman, as long as he does not love her. Ah, what a cynic you are, cried the old lady, pushed back their chair and nodded to Lady Ruxton. You must come and dine with me soon again. You are really an admirable tonic, much better than what Sir Andrew prescribes for me. You must tell me what people you would like to meet, though. I want it to be the most delightful gathering. I like men who have a future than women who have a past. I'm gonna repeat that. I like men who have a future and women who have a past, he answered. Or do you think that would make a petticoat party? I fear so, she said, laughing as she stood up. 1,000 pardons, my dear Lady Ruxton, she added. I didn't see you hadn't finished your cigarette. Never mind, Lady Narborough. I smoke a great deal too much. I'm going to limit myself for the future. Yeah. Okay. Unfortunately, the Norman occupation of England kind of permanently haunted English language literature. I, I, what I think I want to get into French literature, but at the same time, like, I don't know. I feel like, even though, like, what am I trying to say? I don't even know what I'm trying to say. I don't know why I decided to read today when I, for some reason, cannot even read. Okay, I'm just gonna try to get back into it. Okay, if you have not been in my streams before, this is not usually how my reading streams go. I don't know why my brain does not want to concentrate on reading right now. Or thinking, for that matter. Pray don't, Lady Ruxton, said Lord Henry. Moderation is a fatal thing. Enough is bad as a meal. More than enough is as good as a feast. Lady Ruxton glanced at him curiously. You must come and explain to me some afternoon, Lord Henry. It sounds like a fascinating theory, she murmured as she swept out of the room. Now don't you stay too long over your politics and scandal, cried Lady Narborough from the door. If you do, you are sure to squabble upstairs. The men laughed, and Mr. Chapman got up solemnly from the foot of the table and come up from the top door and changed his seats and went and sat by Lord Henry. Mr. Chapman began to talk in a loud voice about the situation in the House of Commons. He scoffed at his advisories. The word docteur, word full of terror in the British mind, reappeared from time between his explosions. An alliterative prefix served as an ornament of oratory. He hoisted the Union Jack on a pinnacle of thought. The inherited ideal of I actually have Three Musketeers. I have a whole shelf of, like, okay. I'm nervous about reading those on stream. I don't know if I should. No, because this whole stream, I don't know why these chapters I'm reading in this stream is just plummeting my confidence and making me read horribly today. And normally my reading streams are like, okay, yeah, there's like probably a French word, like probably like 5 French words throughout the entire reading session. And this one, where like been a whole page, like a whole like stanza of French. I'm like, okay. Okay. Where did I leave off? Okay. He hoisted the Union Jack on the pinnacle of thoughts. The inherited stupidity of the race, sound English common sense, he jovially termed it, was shown to the proper bulwark for society. Yes. Excellent, provide entertainment, maybe. A smile curved Lord Henry's lips as he turned around and looked at Dorian. Are you better, my dear fellow? He asked. You seem rather out of sorts at dinner. I'm quite well, Harry. I'm tired, that is all. You were charming it last night. The little Duchess is quite devoted to you. She tells me you are going to Shelby. She has promised to come on the 20th. Is Monmouth to be there, too? Oh, yes, Harry. Agreed. I hassle Arthur, but at the end of the day, French isn't your first language. Never be ashamed of being imperfect for a second language or language you barely speak. Yeah, I took 3 years of it, but my French teacher just kind of assumed people already knew French because it was so, like in French... What am I trying to say? My French teacher, she kind of came into the class, like, 'cause our French teacher left, and so she kind of came into, like, probably like 3 months in, so we had a sub for, like, 3 months, and she kind of just assumed everyone already knew French, and that was a bad start to begin with, so she kind of, like, acted as if everyone already knew it, and for 3 years, I dealt with that, so, yeah, and I only reason why I passed her class was because she liked me and counted as Duolingo as a test grade every month. That's the only reason why I passed her class. Yeah. Definitely not a way you should teach a language. He bores me dreadfully, almost as much as he bores her. She is very clever, too clever for a woman. She lacks the indefinable charm of weakness. It is the feet of clay, and makes the gold of the image precious. Her feet are very pretty, but they are not feet of clay. White porcelain feet, if you like. They have been through a fire, and what fire does not destroy it hardens, since she has that experience. How long has she been married? Asked Dorian. Entirely, not an eternity, she tells me, I believe, according to the peerage, is 10 years, but 10 years with 1 month must have been like eternity with time thrown in. Who else is coming? Oh, the Willoughbys. Sir Rugby and his wife, our hostess Geoffrey Clauston. The usual set. I have asked Lord Goshen. What pages do we have left? Should we... So we only have a couple pages left. And the book ends on 240. And so it's about 50 pages for tomorrow. Should we read 50 pages tomorrow? The most I've read on stream is 80 pages. That's about in 3 hours. So I feel like 50 pages is a good amount for tomorrow. If we're finishing the book. I feel like finishing book streams should be a little bit longer anyway. I feel like 50 pages is a good amount. I like him, said Lord Henry. A great many people don't, but I find him charming. He atones for being occasionally somewhat overdressed. By being always absolutely overeducated, he is very modern type. I don't know if he will be able to come, Harry. He may have to go to Monte Carlo with his father. Oh, what a nuisance people's people are. Try and make him come, by the way, Dorian. You ran off very early last night. You left before 11. What did you do afterwards? Did you go straight home? Dorian glanced at him hurriedly and frowned. No, Harry, he said at last. He did not go home until nearly 3. Did you go to the club? Yes, he answered. Then he bit his lip. No, I don't mean I didn't go to the club. He walked about. I forgot what I did. How inquisitive you are, Harry. You always want to know what one has been doing. I always want to forget what I have been doing. I came in about 2:30. If you wish to know exact time, I have left my latchkey at home, and my servants have to let me in. If you want any corroborative evidence on the subject, you can ask him. Lord Henry shrugged his shoulders. My dear fellow, as if I cared. Let us up in the drawing room. No sherry, thank you. Mr. Chapman, something has happened to you, Dorian. Tell me what it is. You are not yourself tonight. Don't mind me, Harry. I'm irritable and out of temper. I shall come round and see you tomorrow, or next day. Make any excuses to Lady Narborough. I shall go upstairs. I shall go home. I must go home. All right, Dorian. I dare say I shall see you tomorrow at tea time. The Duchess is coming. I will try to be there, Harry, he said, leaving the room. As he drove back to his own house, he was conscious of a sense of terror. He thought he had strangled to come back to him. Lord Henry's casual questioning made him lose his nerves for a moment, and he wanted his nerves still. Things that were dangerous had to be destroyed. He winced. He hated the idea of even touching him. Yet it had to be done. He realized that. that he had locked the door to his library. He opened it, the secret press in which he had thrust Basil Hallward's coat and bag. A huge fire was blazing. He piled another log onto it. The smell of the singeing clothing and burning leather was horrible. He took him 3/4 of an hour to consume everything. In the end, he felt faint and sick, and having lit some Algerine pastilles in a pierced copper brazier, he bathed his hands and forehead in a cold musk-scented vinegar. Suddenly he started. His eyes grew strangely bright, and he gnawed nervously at his underlip. Between two of the windows stood a large Florentine cabinet made out of ebony and inlaid with ivory and lapis.
Will you give him a drink of water?
Oh,
for
there
Christ's
you
sake?
are. Hi, Rio. Oh, you're good, you're good. He watched as though it was a thing that could fascinate and make afraid, as though it's something that he had longed for and yet almost loathed. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about that. His breath quickened, a mad craving came over him. He lit a cigarette and then thought it away. His eyelids drooped so the long fringed lashes almost touched his cheeks, and he still watched the cabinet. At last he got up from the sofa on which he had been lying, went over to it, and having unlocked it, touched some hidden springs. The triangular drawer passed slowly out. His fingers moved instantly towards it, dipped it, and closed down something. It was a small Chinese box of black and gold lacquer, elaborately wrought the sides of the pattern with curves and curved waves, and the silken cords hung with round crystals and tasseled and plated metal threads. He opened it. Inside was a green paste, waxy and luxur, the odor curiously heavy and persistent. I got a monster today also. I already finished it though. I need to throw it away though. What monster did you get today? He hesitated for a moment with a strange, immobile smile upon his face. Then, shivering though the atmosphere of the room was terribly hot, he drew himself up and glanced at the clock. It was 20 minutes to 12. He put the box back, shuttering the cabinet door as he did, and went back into his room. At midnight was striking bronze, floats upon the dusky air. Dorian Gray, dressed commonly with a muffler wrapped round his throat, crept quietly. Oh, you're on a 3 stream streak. Fantastic. Where did I leave off? I'm just gonna go right here. I think I already read this part, but he hesitated for some moments with a strangely immobile smile upon his face. Then, shivering though the atmosphere of the room was terribly hot, he drew himself up and glanced at the clock. It was 20 minutes to 12. He put the box back, shutting the cabinet door as he did so, and went into his bedroom. As midnight was striking bronze blows upon the dusty air, Dorian Gray, dressed commonly with a muffler wrapped round his throat, crept quickly out of his house. In Bond Street, he found a... Oh, you're super delayed. It's okay. I don't like the Strawberry Dreams one. That's what the reaction was. Sorry. Handsome with a good horse, he hailed it and with a low voice gave the driver an address. The man shook his head. It is too far for me, he muttered. Here is a sovereign for you, said Dorian. You shall have another if you drive fast. All right, sir, answered the man. You will be there in an hour. And after his fare, he had got to turn his horse round and drove rapidly towards the river. Okay, well, unfortunately, you got here at the end of the stream. We're gonna finish the book tomorrow. I want to make sure there's enough stuff, because if we had one more chapter, I feel like that wouldn't be enough for a whole stream. So we have about 40 pages left of the book. Sadly. There's also 4 chapters left. So those are pretty short chapters. I hope everyone is having an amazing day, and we are going to read out. And yes, be kind. I don't like it much either. But it was either that or red. Ugh, okay. Well, be kind, everyone, and hopefully will see you tomorrow. If not, that's okay. Just hope you have a fantastic day tomorrow also. Let's see. Yeah, I know, I'm sorry. Let's see who is live. Anyone I'm following? Winter. Winter is live. What is Vex doing? Okay, we're gonna start with Vex, cause they only have 1 viewer. Okay, I don't know what this is, but we're gonna find out. Okay, I hope everyone has a fantastic day, and be kind and be nice. 4, 3, 2, 1.